Hello, everyone, and thank you guys for tuning in again. This is just the two of us, and my name is Whitney Renee. Just wanted to say thank you all for your support and actually just taking the time to rock out and vibe with us each week as we dive into deep discussions just about things that, my husband and I actually talk about and just, things that we just encounter on a daily basis. One of the things we're going to talk about tonight is actually co parenting, whether it be with you being married or, just being in a relationship as a whole. What are your frustrations? What is our personal frustrations, things that we've gone through that worked for us and that didn't work? I think this is a very good topic to discuss, as some people may feel like, their situation is just really shitty. Some people may feel like, it's never going to get better. We're here to encourage people and kind of just have a different outlook when it comes to co-parenting and seeing it from, either, the dad's side, the woman's side point of view. So we're going to dive a little bit deeper. Another thing we're going to discuss also is I have a really good friend of mine. She, like I said, that's my sister in love. We don't always see eye to eye, and we're very different, but also similar as far as, some of the things we go through, our thought process, our way of thinking. So we're just going to dive a little bit deeper. And so I encourage you all to listen with an open mind and listen to understand and not to respond. Meaning we always, always, always encourage every one of our listeners to, message us and give us constructive criticism. It's not to bash anyone. That's not, one of the things that we like to do. We're not bashing anyone, but we're just going to be real. We're going to have a real, deep, intimate conversation about co-parenting and what it takes, the trials, the tribulations, some of our frustrations. Again, like I've said many times before, some of the things that, we still go through, to this day, and what do we do to get over it and how do we cope with that? So I encourage you to listen with an open mind and just sit back and enjoy and stay tuned. All right. Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining us today. My name is Whitney.
And this is Omari.
And today we're just going to talk about what is your idea.
Yeah. Co-parenting between two parents that have either been divorced, separated, or just aren't together, but they both want to be in the child's lives.
Child or children.
Yeah, thank you.
So with that being said, we'll go ahead. I actually wanted to just give just our thoughts and our opinions and some of the things that we've gone through since we've been married when it comes to co-parenting and certain things that we either handled correctly, incorrectly, or maybe we could do better at. And then also, what hopefully, people have gone through the same thing. And if not, if they ever do run into those issues or have any inquiries or suggestions that maybe this talk could kind of like open up and it may help you. So with that being said, you don't want to miss out and just stick around because we're going to start with just a brief little background about Omari, what you had to go through, I guess would be your, what do you call that? Like after your very first divorce, like how you had to co-parent?
My very first divorce, you make it seem like I've had like 4 or 5.
No, but you know what I'm saying.
Yeah, the obstacles I had to deal with being a dad going through divorce and the kids and stuff. Yeah.
Okay.
I got you.
All right. So stay tuned and stick around, and we'll be back.
All right, welcome back. Before we actually step into today's topic of co-parenting, let's talk about our weekends. How was your weekend, babe? Please let me know.
My weekend was great.
Yeah,
I don't have anything.
I know we didn't do much of anything. I worked from home Saturday, then went to the gym, and that was about it. I mean, today was a relaxed day, so we didn't do much. We're lame.
I didn't really do much of. I didn't do a lot of relaxing today.
Why not?
I didn't have it. I wasn't really home, but
Oh yeah, you was gone earlier today. Me and the boys didn't do nothing but sit around and play the Switch.
okay.
That was it. Then you came home and ruined our fun.
All right. So, this is actually your topic, so I'm actually going to let you lead this one today because you probably have what I would consider a lot of.
It's pretty common.
Okay, it's common. Okay,
Yeah,
I can get with that.
It's not. There's nothing unique about my situation and what I went through. So, long story short, I was married previously. Me and my ex-wife had 2 kids. We ended up getting a divorce. During the time of the divorce, it was very hard for me to see the children. I was going through things. She wasn't allowing me to see the kids. At one point, there was a restraining order that she put against me. I couldn't see the kids for what felt like a year, but it was more like 4 or 5 months. But I was still giving her money when I had money. You know, I didn't have a job and all that stuff. But fast forward, we started working things out. Went to court, got the typical, you know, every other Wednesday that you will see the kids and every weekend, blah, blah, blah. Meet this fine woman next to me, and she wasn't having any of it. And we, for better or less, better or worse, you know, the kids started coming over and doing a lot. We got to seeing them, and we kind of ignored the court order. Now that the kids have moved away, you know, back in Illinois, I don't see them, you know, don't talk to them too often. But the problem that we're running to now is how do we get the kids to stay focused with their schoolwork, doing extracurricular activities after school, dentist appointments, doctor's appointments, yada, yada. There's no communication on mom's part.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of the information that I get is from
My cup.
My daughter, which shouldn't be a kid's place. Here we are today.
Okay, so I guess, I mean, what made you want to talk about this?
Because I think it's very important for parents to understand that not one parent can raise your children. It happens, but I don't think there's things that a woman can't teach a man and that a man can't teach a woman. There's not. I think there's more things a man can teach a daughter from a male's perspective.
Like, give me an example. Like, what do you mean?
At a certain age, like a dad is just going to know. Little boys are just going to be horny. They're going to try whatever they can. Oh, let me see a nipple. Let me see a boob. Or are you going to do this? You know, are you going to do that? A mom, yeah, she's probably going to know those things, but not to the extent that a man is going to know. You see what I'm saying? A woman might be able to teach their son how to treat a woman and like what a woman might expect. But a father's going to really know, like, okay, these are the hoops that you're going to have to go through. These are the things that you're going to have to do. Perspective is huge. So I think you need both perspectives, whether you're together or not, in order to raise your children the right way. Not saying that single moms and single dads haven't done that. I'm just saying.
So what's your what I hear a lot of is women and men, they say, "Oh, I'm a single parent." So I find that that's a debate for me because I feel like the only way you're a single parent is if you truly don't have help from the other parent, like at all. Meaning if they're not providing like half of, I guess, like, I don't know, like just half of the money to cover like expenses for, like, I don't know, like extra activities, um like child, if you have a kid that's younger and they like childcare, food, stuff like that, whatever, if you have to pay child support, whatever the case may be. I feel like if you're doing that alone, like you get no help with anything, the dad or the mom is nowhere around to be like involved in their kid's life, then that's when I feel like you're a single parent.
And by that definition, you would think so. Not in my case. And I've got people that have. So a friend of mine went to my son's birthday party one year. They went out bowling. Ex-wife invited him and their kids because they're literally the same age. And what he heard a lot of was that I'm not around, I don't do anything, I don't provide, but I'm paying child support. I see the kids every once in a blue moon at this point. How am I? How am I nothing?
What do you mean every once in a blue moon? What? I'm confused.
So the kids would like.
Are you talking about when we moved?
No, this was before us. Like literally this sliver of time right before we met, and when I actually started to see the kids. It was yeah.
Okay.
It was, so they went to a bowling alley or something like that, and
No, I know what you're talking about. We were together. That wasn't.
Was it?
Yeah.
But in that whole experience that he overheard, her talking with her friends about how ain't shit I am.
So I guess what are you hoping to gain out of this?
Me, nothing at this point. This is for everybody else. This is for other people. Like, you have to understand that you can't procreate. You had to do this with somebody else. Now, if the other person just doesn't want to be in the picture, that's one thing. But if you have somebody that's putting their hand out there to help, to, invite that person in. I mean, not to your home, but into the situations. Hey, little Johnny's got this, are you able to help? Can you come support, whatever? What do you think of XYZ? Don't just leave the other parent out to dry.
Yeah, I agree with that.
It's perspective for the kids too.
Yeah. And I know your perspective is different than mine because before you, I didn't have any kids. So one of the things I wanted to share was I have a really, really good friend of mine. I asked her what her thought was about her like being like a co-parent or just being like a stepmom or step parent. And I think sometimes people don't give that step parent either. Like, to me, they're just as much involved in what you would consider to be co-parent. Now,
I agree.
You and I know that one of the things that I never did was I don't step on people's toes at all whatsoever, whether it be the biological mom, biological dad. I feel like it's not my place as a wife, as stepmom,
girlfriend,
whatever,
fiance at the time.
Yeah, whatever it is that you want to call me, it don't really matter. It's not my place because I didn't create you. So one of the things that she said, I asked her, like what she thought about it. So one of the things she said that was very frustrating to her was, she's in a situation where she's with her boyfriend. They've been together. How long have they been together? I think like
6 years.
No, it's been longer than that. They're going on like 8 years, maybe 8 years.
7. I'd say
about 7 or 8.
Yeah.
So basically, one of the things she's struggling with is the unnecessary hardships because that other parent is miserable. And I think we've gone through that too.
Oh, yeah.
But I don't think it's been a thing where it has anything. Sometimes I feel like that other party may not be miserable. It could just be, over times, whenever you get with somebody, and what I'm seeing a lot is you get with somebody at a young age. You think that they're going to be your beginning and your end. And then you think that things are going to work out. You do your best to try to parent with them. Y'all are learning each other, and then you break up. Then that person moves on. One party, some way, in shape or form, they move on. And then they become a better person for the next person. And so they use those kids as a pawn to get back. Yeah, as a leverage or a pawn.
We definitely went through that. I mean,
you know what I mean?
Even some of the comments that she would make is, well, he didn't used to do that when we were together, and blah, blah, blah. And like, I don't know. It just, you heard a lot of it, whereas I didn't. So to me, I laughed at it. But in your instance, you're like, yeah, so?
Yeah, I didn't really care because it didn't really, I know that I just had to put myself in her shoes. Like, how would I feel if me and you were no longer together and you was with some new woman and I was with a new guy?
Oof.
And I seen you be a better person than what you were when we were together for whatever reason. I don't know. I'm just using that as an example.
Yeah.
And then, like, how are you supposed to feel about that? I just think that when it comes to co-parenting, people need to make it about the kids. I feel like
in that instant, like even what she's talking about, like it should definitely be about the kids. It's not about the other parent whatsoever. Like, just because you're bitter, upset, angry, whatever the case may be, why would you punish the kids because you want to hurt the other parent? Because that's essentially what you're doing. Like, what is some of like some of the stuff that we want? Like, oh well, we have plans this weekend.
Yeah, that's another thing that so one of the things is she said adding in, she said it could be. This is coming from my friend, by the way. Her name is Tierney. So it could be like their weekend. They would plan to take them to like a vacation, but because that other parent wants to be spiteful and to be first to share that experience, making up some reason why they can't come over for your weekend. Now that's actually happened to us a couple times.
A lot. And
I think we just kind of had to bite our tongue because ultimately I feel like, I'm just going to say this. I feel like if the courts, and I've always said this, if the courts force people to be parents instead of focusing on breaking up homes, people would be better parents. And what I mean by most of the time, moms get full custody off rip.
I wouldn't say full custody, but
they get
guardianship.
Yeah, they get guardianship. They get guardianship, and then it leaves that it almost seems like to me most of the time, mom gets guardianship, then dad is forced to
play that visitation,
do the visitation, go to court, fight for full custody. Then they get on a child support order. But what I mean by if courts would force parents, and I don't mean physically force, but y'all figure that out on y'all's own. Figure that shit out on y'all's own, meaning y'all come up with the plan, you do a test trial run. You know what I'm saying? Like, you kind of test it out to see because I mean, you can't, let's be honest, you can't force anybody to be a parent.
Anybody to do anything.
But to just automatically assume that mom is the proper fit when it comes to children, I don't agree with that.
I don't agree with that at all.
Because I know some men that are better parents than women, like than the mom theirself. Like, you know what I mean? Like they do everything in their power to, be that good role model. They take care. They're the ones that's taking them back and forth to sports. They got them on the insurance.
Oh,
you know what I mean? I'm just saying.
Sounds familiar. That's what I'm saying.
That was one of the things that she was talking about, and always stealing the first. I feel like when you're co-parenting, you should have that open line of communication with, as the parents, y'all should be communicating on who is going to, y'all need to figure out alternating, I guess, like holidays, birthdays, spending time equally with each party's side of the family.
Yeah, especially if you live locally.
Yeah.
That's bigger. I mean, it's harder for us because we're so far away. But, I've said it before. At a certain point, they're going to grow older. They're going to see stuff that, you try to explain to them when they're younger, but you don't want to influence decision on, oh, well, I want to go live with mom or I want to live with dad.
Right.
They're going to grow older. They're going to be able to get a better understanding as to what's going on.
Right.
And I think at that point, you just kind of got to be real with them. Like, all right, look, you're older now. This is what it is. This is what happened. This is how we got here.
Right.
Now you can make your own decision. You're old enough to decide where you want to live at.
Right.
And kind of let it go from there. But even after that, it can't be one of those, well, you're going to miss so-and-so, or you're not going to get to see, so-and-so all that often. And, playing that guilt trip on the kids type deal. I think that's a little underhanded.
Well, and shout out to Tasha. Hey, Tasha, she's watching here. I guess for anybody that's listening, I guess what would be, and we're going to actually take a quick little break, but we're going to talk about what was the biggest struggle for you, what was the biggest struggle for me when it came to co-parenting and how we're dealing with that now, given the situation. So we're just going to take a quick little break and we'll be back. All right, so welcome back. And for those of you, if you also want to listen to this, you can also check us out on Spotify. It's on Google Podcasts, many, many more. So we're just going to finish this up and wrap it up. One of the things I would say, as far as like struggling when it comes to co-parenting, me and Tyranny both agreed this was a hard one. That's what me and you were talking about. Being able to raise the kids with your own morals and having to share that with someone who you feel isn't adequate to teach and raise them with the same morals and sense you have. I feel like that is very hard for me because I would consider, I don't want to say I'm an outsider, but I'm an outsider when it comes to the sense of you having kids with your ex-wife that I didn't birth. So there's things that I'm going to be able to teach our kids. I could still teach, the big kids that, but I think it's different when they know, like, okay, she's not mom. Do I really have to listen to her? You know what I mean? Like, do I really have to go there? Like, do I really have to listen to her? I don't really have to do that. So I struggle with that. I think that's my biggest struggle. And one of the things I do to not struggle with that as much, honestly, is for the most part, I had to understand that I may not have given birth to them and they may not be biologically mine. But what I have to understand is no kid wants to feel like that other parent, whether it could be a girlfriend, it could be a boyfriend, it could be a fiance, whatever the case may be, that child doesn't want to feel like that other person, the newcomer coming in, is stepping on their parents' toes. So I'm not going to force my stuff on there. I'm not going to force my thoughts and beliefs and stuff like that on them, because I feel like with time, they'll start to see all the good things you're doing and they'll want to be a part of that naturally. You know what I mean? Like if it's things that I'm into,
the door's open. You can walk through if you want.
Right.
But don't be afraid to say no. My mom or dad teaches me this.
Right.
I see that. And I think that's important, because I think my daughter has taken a liking to that a lot more than more than my son. Yeah,
I agree.
She's come a long way. I mean, there's things that you had to teach her that her mom didn't.
Yeah, but it was never like forced, is what I'm saying. Like, what I mean by that, I think it's always important to remember at the end of the day, that's not your kid. You know what I mean? Yeah. So you kind of got to be, you know what I mean?
You got to be hands-on without being
too hands-on. Yeah. I like that. You got to be hands-on without being too hands-on.
You got to be like hands hover.
Hands hovering.
Yeah. You close enough, but you're not doing too much.
Oh my gosh. So what is one of the things that you feel like what is one of the things you felt like you struggled with? And it doesn't have to just be with your ex-wife, even with, because I mean, we're married, but we still have to co-parent too. I got a grape. I gotta get this. Here's my gripe.
What's your gripe?
My gripe is our co-parenting when it comes to discipline. Like when it comes to, I feel like you're harder on the boys, our kids together, because you kind of missed out on having the discipline and having a bigger range with discipline in the older kids, and it shows. It definitely shows.
That I disagree. I think I'm harder on them, on the younger kids, because they're here with us, like shaping them to be men that respect women, that aren't being off the cuff. Now they're still young, so they're still, figuring themselves out.
By the way, they're only 4 and 1, and
yes, they're 4 and 1, but when they get to be 10 and 13, like the big kids, you're going to see a completely different compared to at least the oldest.
Well, right, that's what I'm saying. That's why I feel like
be a stark difference, because the way he is with his mom, and even when he comes over here, even after being here for a little bit, kicking his butt regularly towards the end of their stay, like last year, it started to pick up. Yes, it did.
I disagree.
You didn't, and
I disagree with that.
Okay,
I totally disagree with that, because no.
But that's why I'm harder on them.
Harder on who?
The younger kids.
That doesn't make sense.
I can be as hard as I want on the bigger kids. The moment they get back to their mom's house, it's free range. It was like from when I went from being with my grandma to with my dad. My grandma was hard on us, all over the place, all over. As soon as we went to it was free range. My parents were barely around.
So knowing that,
that's my point, because without that tough house, that discipline, I was doing whatever I wanted. I was
that's not what I mean by that. What I'm saying is my gripe that I disagree with you as far as co-parenting with discipline is how you discipline the boys. I just feel like for their age range, you're a little bit more harsher than what the average parent is. And I feel like you're like that because you didn't have that opportunity to do that with the big set of kids. Because you know what? That goes hand in hand with my dad. He was so hard on us because there were so many of us. And about time he got to the little new kids on the block,
he was burnt out.
He laxed as hell now. I'm like, where was this relaxedness when we were growing up? But I feel like he seen the product of that. Not saying that we turned out as bad individuals, but he's seen the product of that. And I think he's like, first off, 1, he's tired. 2, he had to simmer it down. Bring it down a notch. I need for you to bring it down a notch. But that's neither here or there.
I'm not tired though.
I think you tired in a different way. But what is one of your
I've had way too many struggles. It's hard to pinpoint one because they're all equally as bad. But I think the very worst was not seeing them. It's bad now, but I'm a little bit more. I can video chat with them now.
Right, and we do. We video chat with them all the time.
And text and stuff like that. But back then, I wasn't in a position to, especially early on, to see them regularly. I didn't have the funds to just be like, oh yeah, here's a cell phone, here you go, text me and that.
Are you talking about when y'all first?
Yeah, it was right around the first year of everything going down, and that was probably the hardest. That was probably definitely the hardest.
Was just communication, or is that what you're talking about?
Communication, being there, physically, seeing them, touching, holding, hugging, stuff like that. I couldn't do any of that for months. So going through the divorce and then them just up and leaving and disappearing my heart went through the floor. You might as well have taken me and threw me in the sun. That's how bad it was.
In the sun? Why
into the sun? Because it's hot.
Oh, all right. Well, I guess one of the things I would say is when you're dealing with just co-parenting with another parent, whether you're married, if you are beginning a relationship and you you're trying to get to know the other kids, I just think the most important thing would be to be mindful of how that's going to affect the kids in the long run. And I say that because I see it so many times where parents will be like, they're doing things because they feel like right now at that moment that is what's going to make them happy. And I'm not saying your own personal happiness isn't important, because I definitely do think it is. But when you have kids, you have to kind of like sacrifice that a little bit to kind of make sure that they have equal opportunity to have a relationship both with mom and dad, regardless if y'all get along or not.
I don't care how angry you are at the other person. It's not about you. It's not about you and your old relationship. It is about the children. Moms and dads, stop leaving the other parent out of major decisions, activities, because you don't want to see them in person. Stop doing that.
Right, not calling, or not you sending them or sending gifts and stuff from other family members, and you're not even calling and say, "Hey, thank you for thinking of me." Oh, that grinds my gears. I hate when people do that. I hate that.
Yes,
I hate it.
It's
I hate it.
It takes two to make a child, and it takes more than one person to raise one. Just keep that in mind. You really, men too.
It's men and women. It's not just women. It's definitely men too. And also too, I want to also add too, when it comes to men, you gotta be understanding too that there's some things that women are a little bit more. They're more nurturing. So don't be as hard as the woman if she's a little bit more, I guess men would say, oh, soft. Like, I hate that term. I hate that parents say, oh, your kid's soft because of this. Soft. I hate that because it's like they have enough going. They're going to go through so much in life trying to figure out their own individual, like their own personality, their own who they are as an individual. And if you're at home knocking them down, they're never going to know how to be out there in the real world. So I feel like that's important too.
That's important. And don't talk mess about mom or dad in front of the kids, or let them overhear that. That's not good for either relationship. The kids with you or the kids with the other parent.
Yeah, that's true.
It's not necessary.
Yeah, that's true too. So we're just gonna close this out here, and for everyone that watched online, like I said, you can also check it out on those other platforms as well. Do you have any recommendations on different shows or anything like that you've been watching here recently, or anything like that? I know we always do that. We wrap it up. We wrap the show up with something like that.
No, not really. I'm still watching the same stuff I was watching. I ain't doing much.
Lame.
I know.
I'm trying to think. Oh, I started watching what is my show? I started watching Grownish again, and it's a good show. I like it. I like Grownish. I've been watching, I wanted to check out, they got that document series about that football player. What's his name?
What football player?
That I think he committed suicide.
Oh,
what's his name?
I think it was the Patriots. I know who you're talking about.
You know what I'm talking about? I wanted to watch.
Because he went to prison for murder. Yeah.
Yeah. I wanted to start watching that. Any new music that you've been listening to? No. There's this girl I've been listening to. Her name is Anaya. I like her because she's representing for the big girls and the big chocolate girls, and I love it because you don't hear that on radio. You don't hear, you know what I mean? You don't hear songs like that on the radio. I like her though. She's a more mellow, calm down version of Lizzo. Really, she really is. Like, she.
That's saying a lot.
Yeah.
That's saying a whole lot.
So just thank you for everyone for tuning in with us. And next subject, I don't think we really decided what our next one is going to be about.
Not yet.
But you're more than welcome, like I said, to actually leave us a message here on the Anchor app, and you can actually request the topic and we'll talk about it. Or if you have a question,
send us a message on Facebook. Yeah, just the two of us _podcast.
You could do that too, or you can leave us a message on the app as well, and we'll answer it. It doesn't matter what it's about. It could be about, I don't know, you struggling in a relationship, or you have questions, you trying to think of ways to spice up your relationship. What are you doing wrong when you're? I'm not saying that. I'm just saying, like, what? No. Like, what are you doing wrong? Like, when you're out there on the dating scene. Cool thing, you guys, and we're actually going to film it. We are actually getting ready to do a series where Omari and I, we're going to speed date. We're going to speed date, and we're going to give everyone an insight and kind of like what is trending and some of the things people are doing when they're out here on the dating scene. We're going to speed date. We're going to record it.
That'll be funny.
And we'll talk about it. So he's going to be the speed dater. And I'm going to be the speed dater. I think it's going to be so fun.
It'll be fun. I'm corny, but I think it'll be interesting.
It'll be interesting.
It'll be interesting.
So I'm looking forward to that.
That's coming in the future. And we're going to get stuff situated. We're going to get our stuff out on YouTube and get us a page and kind of clean up the setup a little bit. So we're moving in like a month and a half. So give us some time, but this stuff is coming.
So again, thank you for tuning in, and we'll see you guys next time.
Good night.